Hi folks, it's Farmer Tom here. Saturday the 27th of February, the 27th day of our Cheese a Day challenge, the penultimate day. And we've been working ourselves up to this delicious cheese for some time and this fantastic guest. Now, some people say we're scraping the barrel. Actually, that's only my mum. I like to think of this person as an absolute inspiration. Some people know him as that bloke off Bournemouth. Some people know him as Farmer George. I tend to call him Dad. Welcome to the Cheese a Day Challenge Day 27 tasting.
Well, thank you very much.
It's great. We've been working our way up through pretty, magnificent guests to get to you on day 27. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Oh, come on. We don't believe that.
Yeah, I do.
You've been tasting cheeses with us throughout the whole time.
Yeah.
How's that been going? What have you enjoyed?
Well, what has amazed me is I didn't realise before that I quite like a strong cheese rather than a mild one. I mean, I was brought up on cheddar many years ago, and Stilton, of course. I like Stilton. I've liked a lot of. I mean, there's been, I think, very little difference in my opinion. My marks are 6.5 to 8 out of 10.
Oh, what kind of cheeses would get an 8 out of 10 from you?
Well, the first one from County Cork.
Well, you are a big fan of County Cork. Did that play into it at all?
That may have helped, but it was a very lovely cheese, and I also like the is it Stickleton from Welbeck?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
I mean, I like all of them. If I was given any of them when I'm out, I would have enjoyed them all. I mean, there hasn't been a bad cheese. They've all been lovely, haven't
they? Gosh, it's just been amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, it's just the cheese heritage of the British Isles is quite amazing.
Well, I think 40 years ago, when I was younger than you, when I was in my 20s, you mentioned cheese, and there'd probably be cheddar, Stilton, Caerphilly, and that'd be it. Oh, and one from Swaledale. But anyway, hardly any cheeses at all, and no local beers. And now we've got 2 breweries in Oundle, and I mean, cheese is all over the place.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We're the richer for it, aren't we?
Oh yeah, and the ice creams we make, and all sorts of things now, which we never had before.
So you've farmed through quite an amazing period. What have been, as you look back over the last 40 years of farming, what sticks out, and what have been the big changes? What were the hardships, and what were the big changes?
I think the best change is the Wellington boots are better.
Mine are much better.
Cabs on tractors.
Yeah.
Cabs on combines was, I think, a big thing. But when I started, if we did 30 acres I remember doing 30 acres in one day with 5 combines when I was about 10. And they all had a bagger on and everything. And we thought that was it. We're never going to beat this. 30 acres in a day. Now, of course, if they don't do 80 or 90 acres on one combine, it must have broken down.
Yeah.
It's cleaner, more efficient, and nowhere near the handwork. When we fed cattle, eventually you didn't touch the straw bale from coming out the combine to cutting the string. That was, before that you'd handling them all the time, which of course I think is why quite a few of my generation are quite fit, because of all. I mean, we just did physical work every day.
I dare bet I have much softer hands than you had at my age.
I bet you have still.
Yeah, you're right. And what's your favourite thing about farming?
Oh, I just think it's a lovely occupation. We're outside all the time. We're our own boss. That's a big thing, to be your own boss. Any farmer, if he enjoyed cricket, say, and you said, "Can you come with me to Trent Bridge tomorrow to a cricket match?" 9 times out of 10 he could say, "Yep, I'll be there." Whereas my good friend, who was my best man, is a very good accountant, but you have to ask him 3 weeks ahead. He earns a lot more money than I do, but no, it's the freedom.
Yeah, I agree. And what have been the hardships? What have been the really tough times in the last 40 years from your perspective?
Foot and mouth and BSE, which we had no control over. We never had it, but actually financially it absolutely crippled us. Weather. I started farming in late 60s. 1968 was horrendous harvest because we didn't have big dryers then, and we didn't have combines with big wheels, and we sank in all over the place. And then after that, of course, the government brought in a grant of 70 something percent, and we drained no end of land. I mean, and that was a big change. The land was drained. And of course, the next big change is when you came back and we stopped ploughing altogether. I mean, I was only min-till anyway, but now we don't do anything like that at all, as you know, and virtually all direct drilling. And I just think it's, even this wet year we've had, I walked across Ivan South the other day. You know, you could walk across it easily. If that had been ploughed and cultivated, you would have sunk in up to your ankles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big. I mean, we comment on that most days because it's just such a big difference in changing that tillage and just changing the way that water moves through the soil or doesn't. You know, so.
Yeah, I just think it's just, we've been doing it. This is, I think, the third year. This might be our fourth harvest coming up. Anyway, third or fourth, and it's just making a difference. Only just.
Mm. What's your favourite time of year? Your favourite season?
September.
Yeah.
Finished harvest, and years ago, because we used to be rushing around to get everything ploughed, knocked down, and drilled by September the 20th, which we may well do this year again, of course. But with blackgrass, we've been holding off. September. May's a lovely month too.
Mm.
So I like all months. I like all weathers. I'd rather be outside in the rain for a week than in an office for a day. I'm not an office person at all. I hate office work. I didn't come a farmer to do office work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose actually there's been a fair bit of office work over the last little while, and you know, and as you were saying about a lot of the changes in farming, they've been kind of directed by various different governments or various different outside influences. Do you think that's been for the positive in the long run, or for the negative? Have there been things which have been done well in the last few years by the governments and DEFRA, etc., or things that have been done not so well?
I think the best thing the government can do is not to interfere. Intervention buying was an absolute nightmare. I never agreed with intervention buying at all, ever. Because if the government should never buy, the government should never go into the marketplace and buy, because they upset the whole thing. Like intervention buying for wheat. When we joined the EU in 70, or it was the EEC in those days, 73, 74, wheat was £20 a tonne. And it went up to £100 a tonne. Well, we were selling wheat for £140 a tonne in 1984. It was ridiculous. That's
what we're selling it for today.
Yeah, that's right. It's been intervention buying is probably the worst thing that's ever happened to farming, as far as I can say.
Brilliant. Oh, Dan. Well, we've been looking at this cheese for a little while, or I certainly have. This fantastic, curiously shaped, I suppose, kind of arc-shaped cheese, number 27.
Yeah, number 27.
It's I know you're going to like it because it's another cheese from Cork. It's a Cooley or Cooley cheese, which is the name of the place in the mountains of Cork where this cheese, in West Cork, where this was first made by Helen and Dick Willems.
From Holland.
That's right, because it's a Gouda. Is it Gouda or Gouda? Gouda. It's a Gouda style cheese. I mean, it looks a bit Gouda-y shaped, isn't it? So so yeah. Well, let's get into this tasting, shall we? Then it looks. I mean, it obviously looks very Gouda-y. What is it? You haven't got much of a sense of smell.
Not really, no.
It reminds me of a Montgomery cheddar by smell. That's interesting, isn't it? Maybe it's not that interesting. Well, let's taste it then.
Right. I've been trying to taste it with had a glass of water and taste it on its own. I don't think it's fair to taste it with biscuits or. I like that.
God, you're an absolute pro.
Oh, there you are.
A champion.
That's a nice cheese,
isn't it?
That might even get an 8.
Wow, that's it's a really well-rounded cheese, isn't it? It kind of fills the mouth, I think.
It's got a nice lingering taste to it.
Isn't it?
Very,
very, very pleasant. It is. It's very Moorish. I can't stop myself going back to it.
No, quite. almost a shame to eat anything else with it. It's probably wants eating on its own.
It's a bit of a centerpiece cheese, isn't it?
Mm.
So, Dad, you've got a decent sized birthday coming up. I won't say which one, but if we serve this cheese, well, I'm afraid it will be pretty well locked down. But if we serve this cheese for your birthday, you'd be a man pleased.
Yeah, I would. It's come from the hills of West Cork.
That's right.
I think if I'm right in thinking, the hills of West Cork are pretty awful places to farm. I think
Unless you're making cheese.
They've done well.
I imagine they get a fair bit of weather.
We've had hundreds of cattle from West Cork fattened over the years on our farm.
That's right, because you used to buy a lot of cattle. You used to buy them in Ireland.
We used to go to Dublin every week for about 6 months of the year. Well, Dublin for the first bit when it was at Smithfields in the middle of Dublin, which I imagine now is a very upmarket area. And then we went out. They moved the market from Dublin to Ashbourne, and we went there every week, Ganley Craigie auctions. And then occasionally, if we wanted a lot of cattle, we went to a place called Maynooth on the Monday, and Dublin market was on the Tuesday. I flew in on Monday night from Birmingham to Dublin, stopped at the Gresham Hotel. The Irish government used to pay our hotel bill and everything when we first went, because Ireland's only got 2 exports, and that's people and cattle, or was.
So we can support that kind of government intervention.
Yeah, that's okay.
Now you've what a great way to build your character as a young man, a young farmer, by visiting Ireland. You have a great story about trying to hail a taxi. Will you just tell us that story?
With father and Mick Smith and Pam Sly, who's now a famous racehorse trainer. And 2 things I remember there. We went to this really nice place between Christmas and New Year. I think it was 74, and it rained and rained, and it'd been very wet in Ireland, and they couldn't give cattle away. Actually, you hear the stories of people going to market, couldn't sell the calves, came back, stopped to the pub on the way home. And when they went out to the trailer again, they got 2 more, because people all the time. And anyway, we went to a hotel, and when we left, it was pouring with rain. And I said to Dad, I'll get a taxi, Dad. So I ran out to the very wide pavement, all 15, 20 yards wide, pouring with rain. And this car came along with a thing on top of the roof, and I waved it down, and it was the police. I said in my best English accent, this was 1970, I'm terribly sorry. I thought you were a taxi. these 4 guardians there were just, never said anything. They never flickered. They went off, and anyway, Dad said, I'll do it. Get back in the cover out of the way. So Dad flagged this car down and said, Gresham Hotel. So we all jumped in, and it was a funny taxi because it hadn't got a thing on the front. Anyway, we got to the Gresham Hotel, and we all got out, and Dad said to the taxi driver, how much is that? He said, there's nothing at all. And Dad said, you'll never make a living if you don't charge. He said, I'm not a taxi, sir. I'm on the way home from work. That could only happen in Ireland.
I agree. So this poor chap was flagged down in the rain, and he happily, without saying anything, just gave you a lift home.
Just gave me a lift home, and no worry at all.
Oh gosh, what a great nation of people the Irish are.
Well,
and they produce the great cheese today. So yeah, wonderful. Well, I feel like we might already have a mark from you. You hinted earlier. What are you going to give this out of 10? Now you are a hard marker. I think I'm a bit of a soft touch. I'm realising perhaps.
This is an 8.
Nice. Okay, 8 out of 10.
Best ones. When I say the best, there's been nothing wrong with any of them, but they're just, my taste is a little bit more for this. This is a bit stronger.
8. Well, that's 8 out of 10. That's a first class honours degree if you're measuring it that way. So that's pretty good.
I like it a lot.
There's a lot of people agree with you. In 1990, this cheese won the first prize in the London International Cheese Show. They've won awards at the British Cheese Awards. They were judged to be gold standard at the British Cheese Awards and Supreme Champion. And in 2007, they won the Best Irish and Best Modern British Awards at the British Cheese Awards. So, Dan, you've got quite the cheese taste.
Rubbish.
Well,
thank you. Some nonsense.
Well, I do. I agree with you on that one. We do agree on those things. Oh, Dad, thank you so much for joining us. What a great tasting. What a great guest on the second to last day of our Cheese Day Challenge 2021. Thank you.
Well done, Ireland.